Do you know what holds most people back from learning English? It's not intelligence, it's not resources, it's not even time. It's fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of being laughed at, fear of sounding foolish. But let me tell you something. That fear is exactly what's keeping you from growing. You see, when I was young, I wasn't born into a world where English was all around me. I didn't have the luxury of traveling abroad or going to elite schools. I had nothing but a burning curiosity and a stubborn belief that I could learn no matter what. And that's the thing about learning English. You don't need to be perfect to start. You just need the courage to begin. Too many people waste years waiting for the right moment to start, thinking they'll learn when they have more time, more money, or better conditions. But the truth is, the perfect moment doesn't exist. The only time you really have is right now. English is not just a language, it's a tool that can open doors you never even knew existed, a tool that connects you to people, opportunities, and ideas from every corner of the planet. Imagine being able to understand the world's most influential books, talks, and ideas without waiting for translations. Imagine making friends in countries you've never visited. Imagine walking into an interview or a meeting and speaking with confidence, knowing that language will never be your barrier. That's the kind of freedom English can give you. But to get there, you must be willing to look foolish for a while. You must be willing to say the wrong word, mispronounce something, and keep going anyway. You must understand that mistakes are not signs of weakness. They are the stepping stones of progress. When I started learning, I didn't sit in a quiet room memorizing lists of words, hoping one day to speak. I went out and used it. I practiced with strangers. I watched movies over and over until I could understand the jokes. I wrote down sentences from books and tried to use them in my own conversations. Was it easy? No. Did I make embarrassing mistakes? Many. But every mistake brought me one step closer to fluency. And every time I pushed myself to speak, even when I was scared, I became stronger. So, if you're serious about learning English, stop hiding behind excuses. Stop saying, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'm too shy." Your dreams don't wait. The world doesn't wait. The longer you hesitate, the more opportunities slip through your fingers. Learning English is not about talent. It's about persistence. It's about showing up every single day, no matter how hard it feels, and putting one foot in front of the other. And if you do that, one day you'll look back and realize the person you are now would be amazed at how far you've come. Not because you were fearless from the start, but because you decided to keep going despite the fear. That is how you learn English, and that is how you change your life. The very first step to learning English, the one that will set the tone for your entire journey, is to practice speaking every single day, even if you're alone. This is where most people hesitate, and it's why so many learners stay stuck for years. They wait for the right partner, the perfect sentence, or the ideal moment to speak. But let me tell you this, the right moment to start speaking is the moment you decide to start. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after you've memorized every grammar rule in the book. Right now. Because speaking is not the final step of learning, it is the first step that makes all other steps possible. Think about it. How did you learn your first language? You didn't sit with a textbook and study conjugations before speaking to your parents. You didn't wait until you knew every word before opening your mouth. You spoke imperfectly. You made mistakes. You used broken sentences, funny pronunciations, and often the wrong words. But you kept speaking, and with every attempt, you got better. Learning English works exactly the same way. If you only study silently, you're preparing for a marathon without ever running. You might feel safe, but you're not moving forward. Speaking is where you train your tongue, your brain, and your confidence at the same time. When I say practice speaking daily, I mean it literally. Even if there is no one to listen, speak out loud to yourself. Describe the things you're doing. I am making tea. I am walking to the store. I am looking at my phone. It might feel strange at first, but this is how you train your brain to form sentences without hesitation. If you watch a movie or a video in English, pause it and repeat the sentences you hear. Try to copy the pronunciation, the rhythm, even the emotion in the voice. If you read something new, say it out loud instead of just reading in your head. Your mouth needs as much practice as your mind. And if you do have access to people who speak English, friends, classmates, colleagues, or online communities, use them. Start small, ask questions, share short answers. Don't try to speak like a professor from day one. The goal is to get used to hearing your own voice in English and not feel awkward about it. The more you speak, the less power fear has over you. And remember, you will make mistakes. That's not a possibility, it's a certainty. But mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teachers in disguise. Every time you say something wrong, you are one step closer to saying it right next time. I know many people who can write in English beautifully, but freeze when they have to speak. That's because speaking requires courage, not just knowledge. It forces you to think in real time. There's no backspace button in conversation. That's why daily speaking practice is the first step. You're building the habit of responding without fear, of thinking in English without translation, and of trusting yourself even when you're unsure. Some people tell me, but I don't have anyone to talk to in English. My answer is always the same. Talk to yourself, talk to your phone's recorder, talk to the mirror. You are never truly alone when you're learning. You are training for the moment life gives you an opportunity to use English with others. And when that moment comes, you won't be silent. You'll be ready. I remember when I first started speaking a foreign language, I didn't have perfect words. I didn't have perfect grammar, but I had the courage to open my mouth. And you know what? People understood me. Not because I spoke flawlessly, but because I spoke with the intention to connect. That's what you must aim for. Perfection can come later. Confidence comes first, and confidence only grows when you practice, daily, consistently, without excuses. So make this your starting point. Every single day, speak something in English, no matter how small, no matter how broken it sounds. Over time, your words will grow smoother, your sentences stronger, and your hesitation will disappear. And when that happens, you will realize that speaking daily wasn't just the first step of learning English. It was the step that made all the others possible. The second step in learning English, the step that will completely change the speed of your progress, is to surround yourself with English every single day. Think of it like this: if you want to swim, you have to get into the water. You can't learn by standing on the shore, reading about swimming. In the same way, you can't learn English by keeping it locked inside a textbook for an hour a day and then forgetting about it. You have to live in it, breathe it, and let it become a natural part of your environment. Your brain learns best through immersion. If you surround yourself with English, your mind starts to absorb words, expressions, and sentence structures without you even realizing it. It's the same way children learn. They don't study their language, they live in it. So fill your life with English in every form possible. Change the language settings on your phone and computer. Watch movies, series, and YouTube videos in English. At first with subtitles if you need them, but later without. Listen to English podcasts while you're walking, cooking, or exercising. Read simple books, short articles, or even English captions on social media. The key is not to treat English as a separate subject you visit occasionally, but as part of your daily life. When you surround yourself with English, you start to notice patterns naturally. You hear how native speakers use certain phrases. You see how words fit together in real-life situations. You don't just memorize vocabulary, you experience it. For example, instead of learning the word hungry from a list, you hear someone in a movie say, "I'm starving." And now you understand it means the same thing, but in a stronger way. That's real learning. At first, your brain will feel overwhelmed. You'll think, "I don't understand anything." But don't let that stop you. Your brain is working even when it feels lost. Little by little, it will start to catch words, then phrases, then full sentences. This is why daily exposure is so important. It trains your ears and eyes to recognize English naturally. I remember meeting someone who spoke English fluently without ever living abroad. When I asked how he learned, he said, "I just surrounded myself with English. I watched movies every day, listened to songs, read magazines, and talked to myself in English." He didn't wait for a classroom or a teacher. He built his own English environment. You can do the same. Here's the trick. Remove as much of your native language as possible from your daily habits. If you listen to music, make it English. If you watch TV, make it English. If you follow social media accounts, follow ones that post in English. Even small changes, like reading food labels or instructions in English, make a difference over time. This constant exposure keeps your brain in English mode. It stops you from translating everything in your head and starts training you to think directly in English. And when you think in English, speaking and understanding become much easier. This is why surrounding yourself with the language isn't just the second step. It's the step that transforms English from something you study into something you live. The third step in learning English, the one that will truly unlock fluency, is to train yourself to think in English, not in your native language. This is where many learners unknowingly slow themselves down. They hear something in English, translate it into their language, think of an answer in their language, then translate it back into English before speaking. That's not communication. That's a constant traffic jam in your brain. It's no wonder you feel nervous or take too long to respond. If you want to speak smoothly and understand naturally, you must remove the middle step of translation and start thinking directly in English. In the beginning, this will feel uncomfortable, almost like trying to write with your non-dominant hand. Your brain is used to the comfort of your native language, so it will try to help you by translating everything. But that habit is the main reason your speech feels slow. The truth is, your brain can learn to think in English faster than you expect if you push it to do so every day. The secret is to start small and keep it consistent. Here's how you train yourself. Throughout your day, describe what you're doing in English, in your head or out loud. If you're making breakfast, think, I'm making coffee. I need 2 slices of bread. I'm going to toast them. If you see something interesting on the street, describe it in English. If you feel happy, annoyed, or excited, express that thought in English immediately. This is amazing. That's frustrating. I can't wait to try this. You are forcing your brain to process life in English without translation. When you watch movies or listen to conversations, don't try to translate every word. Instead, focus on understanding the overall meaning in English. Your brain will slowly build direct connections between English words and their meanings, just like it did when you learned your first language. For example, when you hear the word apple, you should instantly imagine the fruit, not first think of the word in your own language. This direct link is what makes fluency possible. Another powerful method is to avoid bilingual dictionaries and use English-to-English ones instead. When you search a word, read its meaning in English with examples so your brain stays in the language. At first, this might feel slower, but over time, it will train you to think without translating. Of course, you will still make mistakes, and that's okay. Thinking in English doesn't mean thinking perfectly. It means giving your brain permission to process ideas in the language without interference. The more you do it, the less your native language will interrupt. I've seen learners who studied English for years but couldn't hold a conversation because they were trapped in the translation habit. Once they began forcing themselves to think in English, everything changed. Their responses became faster, their listening improved, and they felt more confident speaking in real time. This step isn't about more grammar rules or memorizing extra vocabulary. It's about rewiring the way your mind operates. And when you succeed, English will no longer feel like a foreign language. It will feel like your own. That's when fluency stops being a dream and starts becoming your reality. The fourth step in learning English, the one that transforms your knowledge into real ability, is to learn by using, not just by studying. Too many learners trap themselves in what I call the study loop. They collect grammar books, memorize vocabulary lists, watch endless tutorials, but when it comes time to speak or write, they freeze. Why? Because language is not something you store in your brain, it's something you do. You don't learn to play the guitar by reading about chords. You learn by putting your fingers on the strings. The same goes for English. Every new word, phrase, or grammar structure you learn must be put into action immediately. If you read a word like opportunity, don't just write it in your notebook and move on. Use it in a sentence. This is a great opportunity for me to practice English. If you watch a video and hear a phrase like, on the other hand, use it in your own speaking the same day. I like movies, but on the other hand, I prefer books. The faster you use what you've learned, the faster it becomes part of your active vocabulary. This step is about turning theory into practice. If you read a grammar rule, don't stop until you've used it in at least 5 different sentences. If you learn 10 new words, speak them out loud, write them in a short paragraph, or send them in a message to a friend. You might get them wrong at first. That's normal. What matters is that your brain starts linking the word to real situations instead of letting it sit on a page. You can also create small daily challenges for yourself. For example, today I will use 3 new words in conversation, or today I will write a short diary entry in English using the past tense. These challenges keep your learning active and purposeful. Passive learning, just listening or reading, is important, but active learning, speaking, writing, using, is what builds fluency. When you learn by using, you start to notice something powerful. Words and grammar you once struggled with begin to come naturally. You don't have to stop and think, what's the rule here? You just say it because your brain has practiced it in real-life context. This is the same reason professional athletes don't just study techniques. They practice them thousands of times until they become automatic. I've met people who knew thousands of English words but couldn't use half of them in conversation. They treated learning like collecting coins. They had them in a jar but never spent them. Don't make that mistake. Every word you learn is a tool, and tools are meant to be used. So from now on, promise yourself this: you will not learn anything in English without immediately putting it into action. This simple habit will not only strengthen your memory, but will also give you the courage to speak, write, and think in English naturally. And once you start using English daily in real situations, you will notice that fluency is not something far away. It's something you are already building, one sentence at a time. The 5th step in learning English, and one of the most important if you want to actually progress, is to stop fearing mistakes and start using them as lessons. This is where so many learners give up, not because they can't learn, but because they can't handle the embarrassment of getting something wrong. They worry, what if I pronounce it wrong? What if my grammar is bad? What if people laugh? And so they choose silence over speaking, hesitation over confidence. But here's the truth: if you avoid mistakes, you avoid learning. Mistakes are not proof that you're bad at English, they're proof that you're trying. Every error you make is like a signpost telling you where to improve. Think about how you learned to walk as a child. You didn't read about balance. You didn't take lessons on foot placement. You fell over and over again. Every fall taught you something, and eventually you could walk without thinking. Learning English is the same. You need to fall many times before you can move smoothly. The problem is, most people treat mistakes like shame instead of information. When you mispronounce a word, instead of hiding, pause and repeat it correctly. When you use the wrong tense, correct yourself or let others correct you. Every time you do this, you are training your brain to recognize the right form and fix it instantly. Over time, these little adjustments make a huge difference in fluency. One powerful technique is to record yourself speaking. It might feel awkward at first, but when you listen back, you'll notice patterns in your errors, words you always mispronounce, grammar structures you mix up, or places where you hesitate. Then, you can work specifically on those areas. This turns mistakes into a targeted improvement plan instead of random frustration. Another thing to understand is that native speakers themselves make mistakes all the time. They mispronounce words, forget grammar rules, and restart sentences. The difference is, they don't stop talking because of it. Communication is not about being perfect. It's about being understood. And here's the best part: most people are not judging you. They're impressed that you're speaking in a language that isn't your first. I've seen students who tried to be perfect before speaking, and they never improved because they were too afraid to open their mouths. And I've seen students who spoke constantly, made hundreds of mistakes, and within months were fluent. The difference wasn't talent, it was courage. So the next time you make a mistake, don't shrink away, lean into it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Smile, correct yourself, and keep going. Every mistake is like a push forward on the road to fluency. And when you stop fearing them, you'll realize they were never barriers. They were stepping stones carrying you to the level of English you've always dreamed of. The 6th step in learning English, the step that keeps your motivation alive and your progress steady, is to set clear, small, and achievable goals. This is where many learners go wrong. They say things like, I want to be fluent in English, which sounds great but is too big and too vague. Without smaller steps, that big goal quickly feels impossible, and you lose motivation. Fluency isn't built in one giant leap. It's built through many small victories that keep you moving forward. When you set small, specific goals, you give yourself something you can actually measure and achieve. For example, instead of saying, I will improve my vocabulary, say, I will learn 10 new words today and use them in sentences. Instead of saying, I will practice listening, say, I will watch one English video without subtitles this week and write down 5 phrases I understand. These small goals give you a clear target, and every time you hit it, you feel a sense of accomplishment that pushes you to keep going. The beauty of small goals is that they create momentum. You might start with something as simple as, I will speak 1 sentence in English today, and soon you'll be speaking for a minute, then 5 minutes, then having full conversations. The progress feels natural and motivating because you can see yourself growing step by step. Your goals should also be realistic for your schedule. If you're busy, set goals that fit into your life. 5 minutes of speaking practice in the morning, 10 minutes of reading before bed, a short podcast while you commute. The key is consistency, not the size of each session. It's far better to do a little every day than to overwork yourself once in a while and then stop. Another powerful approach is to set challenge goals alongside your regular ones. These are slightly harder tasks that push you out of your comfort zone, like having a 5-minute conversation with a stranger in English or writing a short essay on a topic you've never discussed before. Challenge goals keep you from getting stuck at the same level for too long. And don't forget to track your progress. Keep a notebook or use an app where you record your daily achievements. This way, when you feel like you're not improving, you can look back and see how far you've come. Seeing your own progress is one of the strongest motivators to keep going. Remember, small goals are like bricks. Each one you complete adds to the wall of your fluency. Alone, each brick might seem tiny, but together they create something strong and lasting. And the more you hit these small targets, the more confident you become, not just in your English, but in your ability to achieve anything you set your mind to. This step might sound simple, but it's the reason some learners succeed while others give up. Without goals, you're wandering without direction. With them, you're on a clear path, and every day you walk it, you get closer to the English-speaking version of yourself you've always wanted to be. So now you understand, learning English isn't about luck, talent, or some secret shortcut. It's about steps. Steps you take every single day, no matter how small they seem. Speaking daily, surrounding yourself with the language, training your mind to think in English, using what you learn, embracing your mistakes, and setting clear goals. These aren't just techniques, they're habits that will shape your future. Every step you take might feel ordinary in the moment, but each one is carrying you closer to something extraordinary. One day, you'll find yourself in a conversation you never thought you could have, understanding things you once thought were impossible, expressing your thoughts with confidence and clarity. And when that moment comes, you'll realize it wasn't one big effort that got you there. It was the decision made every day to keep going. Remember, the world doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Your dreams don't wait. The only question is, will you, or will you start today, right now, taking that first step, and then the next and the next, until English is not just a language you learn, but a part of who you are. Because the truth is, fluency isn't a destination, it's a journey, and every day you practice, you're already living it. So don't stop, don't doubt, just keep moving forward, and let the world hear your voice.